mentioned a good point. Someone suggested that I sell the Cloudflare error as a merchandise, and then I said if I did that, they'd probably sue me for copyright infringement. Which someone else replied saying that it was put on your domain, so shouldn't you have the copyright? I don't think that's how copyright works, but it is interesting that Cloudflare's decision to take down the site was also met with like replacing the site with a PR statement. And I think when they took down Daily Stormer and 8chan, they didn't do that. I want to say that we're the first site that they've taken down that they replaced with a statement explaining why they did. I could be wrong about that, but that's like, it's ridiculous that they felt the need to run damage control for their brand using my domain name. All of my domain names, by the way, not just
that was weird because I don't think I've ever seen them do that before. Yeah, it didn't it redirect to their statement. It wasn't just that they
it didn't redirect, but it left a message with like a brief statement and then like a blog post to their official blog.
He's blogging on your website about how dangerous you are.
And I said good things about Matthew Prince. There's a Zero Hedge article called "Where the Sidewalk Ends" that I wrote, and I said that Matthew Prince was like one of the only people in big tech that was like worth a shit. I mean, you need more people like him. And then a year later, he hijacks my domain name and redirects it to his fucking live journal with an explanation of how he's feeling and how evil besets him on all sides.
Well, I mean, now he's fairly independently wealthy. I mean, he runs his company and everything. He's probably super rich. I'm just curious, like, if you had to make your best guess, who do you think it was that spooked him over the weekend?
Okay, so you have a couple options here. You have either A, it was suggested to me that the payment processors were threatening to stop processing payments for Cloudflare unless they dropped the site. That's option A. Option B would be Michael Yonka and the federal government. Option C would be general pressure from the outside and I'll lump this together, the campaign and or actually seeing something on the site that made him want to take it down. And then option D is the shareholders. And I would actually wager that they held like an internal poll with the largest shareholders regarding removing him as CEO if he didn't take down the site, and that is what was the threat. Because Cloudflare is publicly traded, and if you don't know this, in the United States, if a company is publicly traded, they must do what is in the best interest of their shareholders. A company cannot make decisions legally in the United States that are against the financial interests of the shareholders. They are legally obligated by the violence of the government to do whatever is as avaricious as possible for the shareholders. So all they have to do is say, we will take you to court. If they couldn't even, remove him, let's say he owned 51% of his company, they can say, we will take you to the SEC and say that you are not doing what's in the interest of the shareholders. The stock went down, but all IT stocks went down, but that doesn't matter. They can say this happened, and then coincidentally it aligned with the stock dropping, so we can make the prima facie case that he's not making financial decisions that benefit the shareholders, and that's criminal. That's criminal in the United States.
So you think that maybe like what is it called? Is it caucus belli? The looking for a reason for war thing. You think some of the stockholders? There we go. You think some of the stockholders had a previous issue with him and were looking for like, hey, this is a great way to fuck with them.
I mean, it could be I'm sure. Again, it's probably like everyone had their own reasons, but it could just be like IT stocks are going down, and it's like we want line go up, unga bunga, line go down.
Like option A doesn't work for me because the payment processors themselves are plugged into a bunch of websites that would have to use Cloudflare. So they'd be, just for their own services, they'd be fucking themselves over by kneecapping Cloudflare.
Well, let me rephrase that. Not the payment processors, the payment gateways. MasterCard, Visa Card, Amex, Discover.
Okay.
They are more powerful and more active in censorship than anyone could imagine. If I had one wish, I would make it so that those companies could not interfere with transactions at all and make decisions like that. Because if we could make it so that two people can exchange money over the internet without the government, or especially without. I mean, fuck, I'm okay with the government at this point because I can sue the government and say that my rights are infringed. I have no recourse whatsoever against financial institutions. They are private companies, and the reasons why they deplatform people is a trade secret, and there's nothing you can do to even get them to tell you why you're banned because it's a trade secret. If I had one wish, that would fix the internet overnight, because I would be able to make money. I would be able to do whatever the fuck I want. I could lay my own fucking fiber optic if I wanted to. Like, if the site was genuinely making the money that it should be with the traffic that it gets, I'd be making probably $20,000 a month, and I could do literally whatever the fuck I wanted to, and nobody could tell me otherwise. But because I have to operate cloak and dagger and accept, crypto bucks that nobody even wants to buy because they're afraid of them. It really like only 5% of people bother to learn crypto. I get more donations in the form of Visa gift cards bought at Walmart than I do from cryptocurrency. and it's a shame, but people don't want to deal with it.
What if this? Wait, okay. Here's my conspiracy theory. What if this is the big hustle? Visa wants to sell their shitty gift cards, so they fuck with your ability to make money, so people can only pay you with their shitty gift cards.
They're making $5 a gift card. They're raking it in.
They found a way to do it
off my suffering. Yeah,
They're
it's
incentivized. Yeah.
That's if you're listening to this and you're like, ooh, I want things to get better. I'm not like black-pilled. Find a way to force payment gateways to process money. Any legal, ordinary transaction between two private entities should happen without the consent of any third party. And I don't know if that's ever going to happen. There's a government service coming out literally called FedNow, which is like the worst name ever for anything. But FedNow is a Federal Reserve service, but the Federal Reserve is a private company in some ways. It's like owned in part by the government, in part by the bank. So it remains to be seen if the FedNow will operate the same way that the payment gateways do. But it will be a bank-to-bank service. So I will just, it's kind of like how Europe has IBAN numbers and BIC numbers for banks. It'll be bank-to-bank transfers. So if that works out, that would be a game changer. You would see so much innovation and new websites and new things coming out overnight if people could just accept fucking money from people who want to give them money. That's the biggest damper on freedom of expression right now. It's not even service providers. It's the fact that you cannot give people money that you want to give money to.
Yeah, I mean that's been if this happens, would you set up the Bank of Josh? Is that what so they could send directly to you?
I could literally, like, we have 16,000 people who logged into the site the day the .net was seized. I think you only need like $7 million to start a bank in terms of initial investment. So let's see, 7 million divided by 16,000, $430 each. I could do it. I could get a bank together if I really wanted to. And there's more people who don't even have accounts who would chip into, so that number is theoretically much lower. And some people would invest like 10,000 or 50,000. Some people would invest 50. It would even out. I could put together a bank, is what I'm saying. I cannot put together Kiwi Card because I've looked this up. To make your own Visa payment gateway, it's $70 million. Just for licensing. To get licensed in every state in the U.S. to be a payment gateway like MasterCard or Visa card you need $70 million. I don't even think you get that back, as opposed to the initial investment for a bank or a credit union. So yes, I will make a fucking bank. I don't give a shit. I'll figure this out. But I need this whole Discover can say you don't get to process money anymore bullshit to die. And the sooner that dies, the better we will all be.
So we talked a lot about the Keffel stuff, which I'm sure is the most prescient, right, and all the other stuff going on. But I figured for like the last hour, you want to talk about something more upbeat instead of a deranged tranny trying to hunt you down and like destroy you. You want to talk about I don't know, some of your favorite personalities from running the site, some of the shit that you've liked the most.
And oh geez. I've talked about how I've locked the threads on Keffels and a lot of the people in the Drop Kiwi Farm stuff, because I realized at some point that Keffels read his thread so much that if somebody posted something, it would get retweeted by him in minutes every time. It's so fast that I can't even believe that someone in his Discord sent it to him for him. Like, this has to be him screenshotting shit himself. However, there was one thing from everything that Keffel said that actually made me laugh out loud because it was so funny. And it was they're fighting with each other now because the thread's locked, so they can't, and the site's down, so it's like they can't argue against the site anymore. Keffels got called out for calling people retarded, and Keffels came back, I swear to God, by saying, "I'm mentally disabled and I'm reclaiming the word." Literally came out and said, "I'm retarded, so I get to say retard." And that was the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen. It's like, yeah, that sums it up. You're a retard.
Well, yeah, no, they're absolutely starting to eat each other. I think I saw the retard thing. Didn't they make like some previous statement about fucking a retarded girl, and that's what started it all?
Oh, geez, probably. Dude,
Yeah, Keffel said something like, "I like fucking retarded girls because they're dumb enough to do it." Some weird, some statement that somebody dug up and got really mad about that started the whole retard shit.
if you look up all his tweets from just like in 2021, he is the most sexually violent person you could possibly imagine. Like the words he uses to describe sex are just like feminists say this, like, oh, sex is violence, all sex is violence. Like he is literally using a sexual innuendo in a way that sounds like he's killing people. It's like saying, I'm better, I want to normalize fucking hot MILFs and I want to fuck your mom is something that he goes to all the time. And then, of course, he also is obsessed with my mom. So it's like, okay, that's pretty obvious what you're doing there, buddy. He also said something really disgusting, like, real women are jealous of me because I have a vagina that you can smash your dick directly into my prostate and I'll have an orgasm. And it's like,
Yeah,
ew.
I saw that one. I saw that one. Yeah, yeah. Uh, which is just, I never got it. Like the thing with the tranny shit that always amazed me was that it's lifelong dilation. It doesn't stop. If you don't keep the hole open, it closes. Like you're committing to like 2 hours of ripping a hole open over and over and over and over again. Like that's gotta drive you crazy. I'd go fucking insane.
Supposedly, it becomes less painful and less frequent over time to the point where they do it like once a month after a couple years. But yeah,
Yeah, but see, every tranny I've seen talk about it always complains that if they don't maintain this, rigorous dilation schedule, they lose depth.
mhm.
They lose structure. It tightens up too much to use. So like I don't know, but like even if it was just 2 years, right? Um, I don't know if I could do it, man. If I had an open wound that I had to keep digging into every day for hours a day, I'd somersault off the roof.
Yeah, seems to be the popular opinion. It's like an earring piercing. A woman who get earrings, if they don't wear earrings every so often, it closes up, it scabs over, and then eventually becomes too narrow to put an earring into, and they have to get it re-pierced.
Oh, do you know what would be the most horrifying thing if
Mm.
you're a tranny right now? You just got your transition surgery and you go to test out your new bits and parts, right? And then you get monkeypox.
I'm sure.
Could you imagine dilating with monkeypox?
I'm sure that's happened. It has to have happened somewhere.
It must be so bad.
Um. Oh, okay. Favorites this year. Ralph is consistently entertaining. He's really stepped up to lighten the mood.
He really has, hasn't he?
He just like he's set himself up so that he has to be yelling constantly at something because he considers himself, like, he copes about how everyone finds him disgusting, even the people who tolerate him, like Nick Fuentes, like, make fun of him for being a fat piece of shit. So he just says that I'm the heel. I'm like a real life heel. And it's like, no, that's like a wrestling thing. That's like men playing pretend to make money by making entertaining television. People just hate you. And he doesn't seem to understand that. So he acts like a cartoon character, but in real life. And it's
Well, like the transformation over the last year has been really stunning. I mean, he went from a guy that wanted to fight anybody, right, and got two beatings, to the point where he wouldn't even go the aquarium guy, right? He wouldn't even go to the aquarium to confront him after saying he was going to. He'd always call people up, be like, "You're scared to have your name out there. You're scared to be known." And now he's like in hiding, like witness protection in Mexico, or wherever the fuck he is. It's just he's like he's turned into this like caricature of a character. You know what I mean? And it's like that Sam Kinison yelling that he does. You're right, that like wrestling bullshit. Um, it is entertaining. It's just very weird to watch. I don't know. I don't know what he must. I think he's stuck in that mode. He must be like that off stream now too.
I'm sure he is. I'm sure that he's just awful to live with. I don't even want to think about. I don't like May at all because she's like a pedo horse, but uh, like I'm sure that her life is just a living nightmare that never ends, and every day she wakes up and she just stares at the ceiling and you know what I mean? It's like waking up in jail and not having any reason to get out of bed. There's some complications going on there, so um
Oh, but I
yeah.
mean, outside of big stuff, like like I know Ralph has his own sub forum now and stuff, and he kind of blew up with all his stupidity and stuff like Chris or DSP because they're or Wings because they're kind of bigger names. But I mean, just throughout the history of the site, what would you say was like some of your favorites, like people that you came across and you're like,
Oh,
man, that's fucked up, or something like that really caught your attention.
throughout the entire history of the site, way back when, the Deagle Nation stuff remains some of the funniest stuff that ever happened on the site. And the funny thing about that, it was that the guy behind it, Jan Rinkowski, he was like a MDE wannabe. He was in the area in Massachusetts near Sam Hyde and stuff, and he wanted to get in with MDE, and he put on like this fake lolcow thing. But it was so funny that even though I think all of us kind of knew that a little bit, that it was just a little bit too good to be true, it was still hilarious. And it was I did a stream about it. It's really hard to sum up. But it was like a guy who
Well, yeah, I know he is. Like I always found it to be like it was a bit, but the one thing that did confuse me about that was the Brianna Wu thing, because didn't they like have a incident where their car flipped and then they decided to just film next to it?
okay. So in short, this was during Gamergate, which if you don't know was a thing like 10 years ago that nobody cares about anymore. And despite what anybody else may say, it was a thing about games, video games, and a tranny that has to this day not come out as a tranny named Brianna Wu. Was one of the big players in Gamergate. So Jace, who went by oh god, what was his parkour dude was his name. He was doing like a thing where it's like super cool deagle guy. He's got like airsoft pistols and he skates and shit, and he's a gamer and he smokes weed. He had a spat where he kept making videos kind of like how Sam Hyde does with what's his face, Hassan Piker, like just trying
Yeah.
to get Brianna Wu to react to his thing. And he accomplished that when he had a real life car accident. He was driving and it was cold, it was Massachusetts, the road was iced over, his car flipped, and he instinctively gets out, pulls out his phone camera, and in character starts screaming about how Brianna Wu sabotaged his mom's Prius and got him driven off the road during an illegal street race in his mom's Prius, and how Brianna Wu was gonna get it, and how they're gonna street race to the grave, he said. And this got reposted onto like the Twitter, and it ended up Brianna Wu ended up on a show called The Internet Ruined My Life, where they played this they played this footage of Jan Rinkowski in character pointing a camera at his mom's Prius, screaming about street racing to the grave, and Brianna Wu had to do the line because it was the thing they all had to say during the show. After this ridiculous footage plays, they had to look at the camera and go, "The internet ruined my life." And it was beautiful.
Was that the same episode? Was she also, or was he also the one that had the bit about snipers outside the Gamergate snipers outside their house on rooftops and shit?
Maybe I don't remember that part. I
There
think
there
that
were a couple episodes of this if I remember right, but I guess sticking with the car thing, that I was like, oh, it's a bit, and then he's at a car wreck screaming about Brianna.
oh
I was like, what the fuck?
yeah, I can't remember. It's been so long now. I remember that I had an interview because after the car accident thing, I had an interview with a journalist, and we were talking, and I could hear him. It was on Skype to set the stage for how long ago this was. It's on Skype, and he was writing, and I could hear the pen grinding against the paper as he was physically taking notes about. Because again, this was 40 years ago, and this is an old man who still writes on pen and paper, physically taking notes. And I'm describing the declination stuff. I'm procedurally going through it and itemizing it. And I remember exactly when he stopped. Exactly when he stopped taking notes, because he knew that it was bullshit, and he got Brianna Wu to not talk about it anymore. I mentioned that our, Jace's friend was Israeli, and he had gone to Israel with the intent of assassinating Bibi, the prime minister of Israel, with a crossbow that shot paper clips. And that was the moment that the journalist stopped taking notes because his suspension of disbelief had ended. And everything I said after that was not recorded by him on that pen and paper. I very distinctly remember this.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, that video is stuck in my head because he was screaming so loud next to this car wreck, and like I think Wu at the time had like a fucking motorcycle, and he was like, "Did he?" I just, oh fuck, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh.
he did a lot of God. That was good times, and the real punchline is that he had like a troll sona that he also, because the easiest way for him to play off information about the character was to have a fake troll that was just him, relaying things that had happened and stuff that would not make sense for Jace to say himself. And his name was Deagle Dad 420, and I really liked Deagle Dad, and he was an admin of the site. His op went so far that I made him an admin of the site for a very long time, and I still miss him. He was a great guy. Here's the sad ending to that. After the car accident, when he was a child, he had seizures, and he hit his head, and the seizure stopped. And after the car accident, he hit his head again. He started having seizures again that were very debilitating. So it kind of put a halt in everything. It's really sad.
God, it's like some fucking it's like Gilligan Island silence or Gilligan Island science, right? Like an old TV show bit where like, oh yeah, you got a problem, bonk him on the head, and then get bonked again, and it happens again.
Yeah,
That's pretty rough.
the brain is mysterious, and that I know for sure is not a like a joke or whatever. Because I hear that and it's like that sounds like bullshit, but he stood by it for years.
Now watch. There's gonna be a video of a car wreck of him screaming about Josh Moon and the fucking Kiwi Farms.
Oh no, did he transition? Is that couples? Is it the 10-year op?
He's so dedicated, you never saw it coming.
That would be funny. I would laugh.
So aside from Deagle Nation and that shit, I guess what was the worst? If you had to pick a thread on a person that's been on the site, what would you say is the absolute worst piece of shit you've ever come across?
Worst piece of shit. I mean, the Zusadas stuff is too easy. I haven't mentioned him in the stream, but Nick Bait.
Yeah, fuck, that's an old name.
Nick Bait. In case you're a little zoomy zoom listening to this and you don't know what I'm talking about, Nick Bait was a guy who had really really fucked up teeth, and he was obsessed with anally raping this girl named Anna, and he was someone everyone thought was a troll. And this person actually had a lasting impact on how I treat people, because he would go on the internet and say, I'm a pedophile, I want to rape Anna, I want to have sex with children. And he sang songs about like dissecting children and wanting to fuck them to death and shit. And everyone just thought like this is like a really bad like attention whore. And he had these really fucked up teeth that were like rotting out of his head. He was genuinely disgusting in every way, shape, and form. But everyone kind of blew him off as just being like an attention seeker. And then he gets arrested for molesting his nephew or
Niece.
yeah. And it goes to trial, and we have people from the site who go to attend the trial, and they say that her testimony was worse than anything anyone had speculated in regards to what he had done to her. Because he had said that he kissed her butt cheek or something, or ate her poop. It was like really weird shit like that. And the people that went there said that her testimony was like it was way worse than anyone knew.
Well, yeah, because like Nick Bate was like I don't know what you call it, like a fecophiliac. Like he was
corpophiliac.
Corpophiliac. He was obsessed with shit.
Mm-hmm.
So here's this guy with like, yeah, all his teeth were rotting, and they weren't even just like you have a bad cavity, right, or the tooth looks like it's going to come out. Like these were teeth were like disintegrated and open like roots and shit, and he would eat poop and play with poop with his
Yeah.
teeth like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I I remember when I found out like he'd done this stuff to his niece or whatever, I couldn't imagine.
I was corrected.
Half sister, yeah, I couldn't imagine the kind of like horror show shit that she had to endure with this sick fuck.
Like there's pictures of him like in dresses and God. Speaking of, I have completely forgot about that. I've erased this from my brain. He also cross-dressed.
Yeah, it's a real interesting, isn't it? How
Yeah, super
that's a
interesting.
common fucking thing that seems to pop up. Um, didn't he also film a video? Wasn't one of his legal defenses? Because I did a video on this. His legal defense was I couldn't have molested her. I'm obsessed with shit. And didn't he film a video of him playing with poop and send it to the court?
Yes, his defense was literally that the story was inaccurate because he is so into poo that there was no poo involved. So therefore, it could not have been a real molestation because if there was molestation, there would have been poo involved.
In fact, I've seen this video. I almost included it in the video I did, but there was no way. There's no way YouTube will let you put a video of a dude playing with shit up on the fucking site, even back then.
Yeah, I vaguely remember this. He got 20 years. He's still in jail, by the way.
Good. I hope he has a fucking rough time in jail.
Yeah, he's bad, obviously. And I can't even take credit for that. That was all Encyclopedia Dramatica that like passed the torch of all those logs and stuff from before the site existed. The Zeus say this stuff was bad. That doesn't need to be mentioned.
Yeah, I think by default everybody understands the zoo say this shit is terrible.
Yeah, like recently, 2 people that were like killing monkeys in Indonesia got arrested, and they're facing like 8 years for animal cruelty in Indonesian prison. And they put their faces out there, so they might die in prison if the inmates know about that.
Yeah, there's a weird like I stumbled on that on YouTube like 3 years ago. There's this really fucking weird group of people,
It's
and
pedophile shit.
it's all monkey torture videos though.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's really fucking bizarre.
It's pedophiles. That is how they get. That's how they meet each other. Because at the heart of pedophilia is sadism. It's about having control and inflicting pain on something that is defenseless. And it's they like the children more because it's a more complex brain. But they will do it to monkeys because monkeys are more like humans. And it's easier to put out monkey torture shit and say, "Hey, join our Telegram group," and that's where the CP gets shared. It's a pedophile thing.
That's even more disturbing. Yeah, I couldn't figure it out and it was so open too. Like you see the shit that gets flagged out on YouTube, and then there are all these monkey torture videos, and you're like, what the fuck is going on this website?
Oh, I mentioned that Nick Bait changed how I treat people. I never assume that if someone says that they're a pedophile, I always believe them. There's no joke. People don't joke about that. If
See,
that,
with the I learned that lesson, I guess, after Amos Yee.
yeah.
The thing that confused me about him, right, is I thought it's way too over the top. And with Amos Yee, he had this weird thing where I can't remember what they call lawyers over there. But he's over in America saying all this outrageous shit about advocating for baby fucking, right? Um, but when he was over in whatever country, what country did he come from? It's
Singapore.
Singapore, yeah. He tried to say that his lawyer molested him. Yeah, he made an accusation that the lawyer molested him, and he was going to sue him. And I was like, okay, this all has to be bullshit because there's no way if he's an advocate for baby fucking that he's going to be upset that the lawyer molested him. The lawyer, by the way, I don't know what he did, but he had a conversation with Amos, and that was the end of it. I'm sure he said, "I'm going to sue the living shit out of you."
Yeah, if people don't know this, because this is also a long time ago. Amos Yu was a Singaporean guy that came over to the U.S. and he said like, the age of consent should be abolished and adult-child relations should be legal. He got evicted from his apartment immediately after he made that video because it went viral, and a lot of people, myself included, thought that it was just like an attention whoring thing, like Nick Bait. But so sure enough, months later, he's arrested for possession of child porn.
Yeah, it was just he was so over the top with it. It was really hard to believe somebody would be that outrageous about it. Like, who would go? I couldn't imagine a pedophile actually going like because he wasn't even saying stuff like, "Oh, I want to date like an 8-year-old." He's like, "I want to fuck babies in the crib." Like that's how over the top he was. And there's no way anybody is that insane. But apparently, fucking Amos Yee is. Yeah, his ass is in jail now, isn't it? Or deported, one of the two.
I think it's in the U.S. jail because it was a U.S. crime where he got convicted. I don't quote me on that. I don't know. It's a thing, and I learned this while hosting 9chan, is that they really get off on telling people the truth, and that's why I hate Vito and Mr. Girl. I will never have anything to do with them or anybody that has anything to do with them because they come out and they say, "I want to fuck kids." Just kidding. and or whatever, and it's like, no, you're telling the truth there, and then when people get pissed off, it makes you laugh because you know that you're not going to get shot for it, and then you reverse when it's like, haha, I'm just pushing the boundaries of free speech, I'm just an expression artist, haha. It's like, no, you're playing a game because it excites you. I know what you're doing. I see through this shit.
Yeah, so explain the veto stuff to me, because I see people. I know Masterson, but I'm not super up on veto. But I see people shit on him literally every day. So is he out there making those statements, or what is he doing?
Okay, Vito is an Italian Jew that lives in LA, and his Jewish friend Max Carson, also known as Mr. Girl, is another LA. LA, by the way, if I had a button, I've said this. If I could destroy LA and everyone living in it, I know there's some good people in there, but it's a measurement thing. If LA was just gone, the world would improve overnight, and we just have to make some sacrifices. I'm sorry, good people living in LA, but you're too close to the beating heart of evil itself.
It's a sacrifice you have to be willing to make. We all appreciate it. Yeah.
Anyways, so Vito put out a video saying I'm a pedophile, I like to fuck kids, and it's just a song, and he's done some stupid shit after. He put out like a video saying I hate pedophiles and I want to kill them, and he's like, haha, am I being serious? Am I just trying to make people upset? Is it art? Haha, I'm a Jewish artiste, avant-garde. Vito was his friend, and they've known each other since before Vito started appearing on the Dick Show. But the Dick Show, he started, and they got on after his claim to fame, by the way, Vito. He made one video reviewing Star Wars Episode 7 that did very well, and he also vaped Bella Delphine's bathwater, and that made like national headlines for whatever fucking reason.
See, I didn't even know all of that. I thought Vito was just like somebody Masterson knew or like associated with the show. But I swear to God, every fucking live stream I ever see, it doesn't matter who's hosting it. If Vito shows up, the chat will suddenly become kick fucking Vito.
Oh,
it doesn't matter what group it is.
Yeah. Mr. Girl also did a review. His thing before even the song, sorry, I forgot, is that he did a review on Cuties, the Netflix show that was about African girls coming of age and whatever. And it was just like very, like the shots, the way that the camera focused on the genitals of like the children dancing and stuff made it so that this was not a movie about coming of age girls. This was a movie about focusing in on like the genitals of children dancing. And there's a huge fucking difference.
This was on Netflix.
This was on Netflix to the point where Texas tried to indict Netflix for child porn.
You're telling me I can't get a fucking second or third season of Marco Polo, but they're gonna put this shit up on Netflix?
That's right.
That's such bullshit, man.
But Mr. Girl, Max Carson, did a movie review about how the show was about challenging sexuality and how he was sexually attracted to all the 12-year-old girls in it. But that's the point of the movie, is to challenge your perceptions. And this caused a lot of outrage because it was a gross, indecent statement, obviously. And then it caused him to have like this spiral where he was making videos like rapping about how he wants to fuck kids and shit. And he's like, haha, it's all satire. I'm just like a crazy dude. And I say wild things like Eminem did. And then he ends up on Destiny streams, and Destiny's like grooming this guy to be his fucking protege, which is why I will not talk to Destiny, because he's fucking gross. But his friend, Vito and Mr. Girl knew each other like a long time before this all happened. Vito at around the same time is vaping Bella Delphine's bathwater, ends up on the Dick Show as a guest because of the bathwater shit, and he hits it off with Dick because they're both LA weirdos now. Then he gets invited on again and again, ends up becoming like a third co-host, and now they reboot The Biggest Problem in the Universe with Dick Masterson and Vito. Vito is repugnant. He is one of those people who has a personality that everyone fucking hates, and and he's a huge attention whore. He will show up if I'm talking to Nick Rekieta. He will be in that chat for 3 hours straight, just saying terrible things about me, trying to get me to even acknowledge that he's in chat. And everyone is just like, ban fucking Vito, kick Vito, and he has a verified check mark and shit because he has a big YouTube account from that one video he did years ago. And that's like his claim. That's what he likes to do. And then he goes on Twitter and says, I'm a pedophile and I don't touch kids. And so I'm,
is that shit that Ross was in? Virtuous pedophile?
Virtuous pedophile, yeah. He's like, as long as you don't touch kids or, do child porn or whatever, then it's okay. And then he walks it back and shit. And it's just like, I know what you're fucking doing. It's bullshit that passes in the LA club, but the normal people, who have intuition about this. It's like we see what you're doing, and it's not funny.
And so Mr. Girl is okay. So that's Vito's relationship, but to Dick, I guess. But so Mr. Girl and Vito were friends then? They know each
They're
other?
friends. They're still friends.
No, but I mean they knew each other before. Like these were two
Yes.
guys that just okay. I didn't even know that. I thought I saw Mr. Girl pop up and suddenly started doing debates everywhere. But I didn't know. I guess who he was.
Yeah, well, that's the origin. He did the cuties review. Before then, he did weird videos about beating his girlfriend or whatever, and he says they're all like art or whatever. But I think Vito promotes Max because they're friends. They have some kind of weird nepotistic relationship that's hard to explain. But Vito got his gigs first, so he's tried to promote Max while he can.
Do you think there's a third one that's even worse that nobody knows about? They're like, oh, this is our buddy, baby fucker 29.
I mean, it's
don't worry, it's irony.
It's gonna be fuck. I mean, at this point, it's like it's either gonna be Dick or Destiny. They gotta get the fuck away from these people. And Dick is like swinging the other way now, where he's like actively like trying to get Keffels on and shit with his show and correcting people misgendering Keffels. And it's like, oh.
Oh, well, I don't. The one that confuses me the most, I guess, would be Destiny, but that's less to do with, I guess, Vito and Mr. Girl, but more to do with like Fuentes.
It's more to do with Destiny trying to be like a fucking intellectual. Like, look at this guy. He's really pushing the boundaries of free speech by talking about fucking kids. Isn't it interesting how angry people get when he talks about how he wants to have sex with children?
It seems like he fucked himself though, because like from my understanding, like Destiny was friends with Sneeko, Destiny was friends with Mr. Girl and shit. But it seems like all of those people are getting like copies struck or fucking struck off their platforms and shit. And it feels like that's coming from Fuentes' camp. It feels to me like Fuentes is grooming Destiny to be like a replacement Jaden, and I don't think Destiny's aware that this is happening.
I think that there's a lot of things that is coming from America First that will come out over time, and much more than just trying to groom Destiny. I think that because what's his face, Nick Fuentes' position is that crime is based and shit. I think that they're doing more than people know.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Think it's them?
Yeah. I think AFers are up to some shit behind the scenes. Yeah. But nothing proof positive. I'd have to talk to Bake's handler. To get the inside track on that.
You have to file a Form 32J with Baked Alaska to get that handled by the proper OIG.
I'll have to go through my contacts, yeah, and be like, "Hey, can I talk to this handler? I have some fucking questions I need to get answered. Because I glow in the dark too, right? So I should be able to speak to other glow in the darks."
That's just because of the uranium rock.
Yeah. That's my undercover costume. They never saw it coming.
It's perfect. You walk into the room, they don't even think. Like, why else would he be glowing? He's got to be.
Most people don't know this, but if you go into an FBI office or CIA, there's a black room at the entrance, and you're not let through the second set of doors unless you literally glow. So that's my way of getting in.
They walk in and you're glowing, but he's like, "That's weird. He's glowing, but he's not black." And he's like, "Well, he's Irish." And they're like, "Oh, that makes sense. Let him through."
I mean, the guy's glowing and stuff, but I suddenly have a really bad stomach ache and my hair's falling out. Are we sure this is the right kind? I don't know what's going on over here. So I guess aside from the horrible, shitty people, has there ever been a thread on somebody? Was there ever a thread that made you laugh like every time that you went into it, where you're like, "This is the most ridiculous shit"?
Yeah.
Somebody that would literally put a smile on your face based on how dumb they are or the shit they would engage in.
Oh, I'm gonna get shit for saying this, but Chantal. You don't know anything about her because she's a fat girl, but
are these the fat feeder girls you like to cover?
They're very silly, and the female locales, they're funny and they're harmless is the thing. They're not fucking kids. They're not like a danger to anybody. They're just like they're smoking weed and eating 4,000 calories of pizza and saying that they don't know why they're not losing weight. They can't understand it. It's like I'm looking at all the reasons. I understand why you're not losing weight.
How popular is she? Doesn't she have like a sizable following on like
huge? She's dude. There is a fucking ecosystem. Chantal is the big whale shark floating around, getting up all the pizza money. But there's like a whole ecosystem of little feeder fish around her that are there just to poach her drama and stuff.
It's like it's it really become that big of a system around her?
Dude, the channels that make fun of the fat girls that are like YouTube safe, you got like Charlie Gold, and then there's like the gay guy. They have like 200,000 followers.
And it's just laughing at fat women eating pizza?
Yeah, it's just a gay guy going like, "Girl, you do not fit into that." And like everyone claps, and they run advertisements on it, and they make a shit ton of fucking money.
So is this like an offshoot of the mukbang shit? And
Yes,
people are just is
yes.
that when it became popular?
There. Okay, so the mukbang, Amberlyn Reed is one of them, but she was OG drama. She's like tame now because she doesn't like being embarrassed, so she doesn't share anything embarrassing about herself. Chantal is utterly fucking shameless. She will say the most vile, repugnant, repulsive, like off-putting things imaginable every stream and just laugh about it. So people find her like really fascinating just because they, especially with like, you know, like really lowbrow people who like the Jerry Springer crowd, they feel better about themselves because like, holy shit, at least I'm not her. And that's like a huge part of her audience, both like her actual fans and people who follow this. But yeah, they're just silly and they're good fun and they say stupid things, and every so often a clip comes out that's like hysterical.
So like is she making like really good money off this? Is this
She
like
make
a career now for her?
she makes like $20,000 a month just eating.
Just being fat on YouTube and she's making 20K?
Well, she does a whole lot more. She gets knocked around by Egyptian men now. But look, her life took a little bit of a tumble, and oopsie doodle. She started by eating some cheese on YouTube, and then she had cancer because when you're fat as a woman, the estrogen causes complications. It increases your risk for cervical cancer. And when you're that fat, they can't just remove the cancer. They usually do a total hysterectomy and remove all your sex organs or reproductive organs. So she had a total hysterectomy, and then, you know, she's depressed because she's hitting menopause all of a sudden due to medication, and she can't have kids, and that's like a hard thing to
Oh,
reconcile with.
she must have like ballooned up even more then, right? Like
Yeah,
if she got
she started smoking weed because she was depressed, and weed makes you hungry, so she starts eating out every stream. She gets really fat and she gets really depressed, and then she ends up with trying to fill the void with like a dude, and she meets some Egyptian guy called Nader, who's like a crackhead wife beater, and she gets addicted. She's fat as fuck, but she gets addicted to coke and is doing meth and shit. And it's just like it's fascinating because she started out going, "Hey guys, today I'm going to be trying some chicken poutine," and then 3 years later she's crying like, "Nadir punched me."
So is this like a race? Are people like doing betting pools on whether the overeating or the meth is going to win? Like what do you think the end weight is going to be? Which side's going to pull it?
There's death pulls for it. We actually just recently one of the fat ones died. Life by Jin died. She was very fat, and she was like 650 and bedbound, and she was obnoxious because she kept making these fucking videos where she was just like, "Hey guys, I'm losing weight, and you're just gonna have to trust me. I'm not gonna do any videos on it, and I'm losing weight, and I'm only eating 600 calories a day, like I said I would, and you're just gonna have to trust me." And she's been making videos like that, like despite gaining weight for 3 years, and then she just fucking dies from being fat. And it's like, yeah, well, we kind of figured you weren't losing weight eating your her meme food was that she made waffles out of cheese because she was always on keto, which just means eating a ton of bacon and cheese instead of anything with bread in it. So she called them chaffles, cheese waffles. Everyone made fun of her for stupid.
The whole thing is made out of cheese?
Whole thing made out of cheese. It's keto, so it's healthy.
So it's just she's just eating cheese.
Yes.
How like a pound of it?
Yeah, I think it's just a bunch of cheese melted into a waffle shape, and then she eats it. Calls it a chaffle. Says it's healthy because it's keto. That's why it's funny.
Oh, I'm just like the smell of it. Like I can't, you know, there's certain things when you talk about them, you can kind of picture like an associated smell. And I'm trying to imagine what a 600-pound bed-bound woman who doesn't bathe, eating nothing but fucking pounds of cheese smells like, and it must be hell.
Well, yeah, probably not that great. It's always the sad thing is about that is that her alcoholic boyfriend, she was with this really skinny guy, and he was like in a halfway house. He had issues with drinking.
Was he halfway out of the house because her fat ass took up the whole amount?
He was halfway out of the house because he was going to
sucked.
McDonald's. He was like the enabler that brought her the food that kept her fed when she couldn't move.
There's always one, isn't there? There's always somebody that wants to be helpful.
I mean, if you can't fucking walk, someone's feeding you.
He could have, like, helped her, like, get a harpoon stick and put, like, broccoli on the end of it. Be like, "This is your meal." As he stands 10 feet away, you can't really do nothing about it.
Yeah, that's a shame. Uh, the world is less funny without her and her chaffles.
Now, did they make a sandbox out of her ashes? Because if you're 600 pounds, that's a lot of fucking shit, right?
See, that's mean. That's just mean spirited.
Are there children playing in her remains that don't know that?
I hope not.
So
um,
you're big into the feeder scene, huh?
yes, I like the women who are just silly and they're not hurting anybody. It's a change of pace. That's why I like the beauty parlor and I like the girls there, and I try to keep them segregated from the vile shit that surrounds them, because they have no other place to talk about these things. They can't be mean anywhere else. They get banned.
So the chick, Chantel, is with an abusive Egyptian. Is he
Yes.
actually from Egypt or is he just
Yes.
Egyptian?
No, he's from Egypt.
Oh, is he like a immigrant?
Yeah, first generation. He barely speaks English.
So she's with him, and he uses coke. You said.
I think he did meth and coke. Yeah, and it's really obvious because
So,
he does that thing where he like pokes at his nose.
so some methed out Egyptian that barely speaks English stuck with this fat woman, and are there fight videos? Do they have fight videos that are up?
No, but they're okay. Oh god, this is so hard to explain. Nader has this old friend named Dee Dee. Dee Dee and him obviously fuck. This has been obvious from the first time that Dee Dee has ever been mentioned, even offhandedly by Chantal. People tell Chantal he is fucking her, and she's in denial for months. And then eventually she finds out, and there's like this breakup and get back together shit that happens all the time. And then eventually says, "Hi guys, I'm bisexual and I'm in a polyamorous relationship with Dee Dee and Nader." And then that falls apart because she fucking hates Dee Dee. There was one time she took a vacation to Cuba and got wasted off Cuban rum and was just like screaming drunk into the camera saying, "I fucking hate Dee Dee. I hate that fucking bitch so fucking much," just like seething about her. So there was no reconciling this with some weird polyamorous threesome happening. Chantel finally breaks up with Nadir some time ago, and then weeks after, there's a video of some guys on Facebook face talking to Nadir, and then Dee Dee says something to him, and he takes that as an insult. She says something about him being a coward or something, and he goes, "Bitch, I am not scared. Bitch, I don't scare. I don't scare. Bitch, I eat people. Bitch, I don't scare." And he gets up and starts beating the fuck out of her. And you can just hear her screaming in the background, and it's horrible. And it's like, if that's what he's willing to do on camera, like imagine how that is behind scenes.
Was it like that Indian talk show where he bitch slaps the fucking female host, and it's like, how can she slap? Have you ever seen that?
No, that's
Oh, it's this woman insults him, and he's just backhands the fuck out of her, and everyone rushes the stage, and all he does in a broken Indian accent is scream, "How can she slap? How dare she slap? How can she slap?"
oh, it's a woman that hits the anchor, and he freaks out.
Yeah, yeah, but then he returns the favor. Yeah, yeah, and
Oh,
that's what everybody's like, "Oh, that's over the line."
I mean, it's a woman. She can't hit that hard.
He wasn't having any of it. He just right back at her.
It's Pakistani. You know how they are.
Oh, so you like the fatties and the fatty world that exists, but I mean, isn't that gonna like that's self-limiting entertainment? Aren't they all gonna die from a coronary in like 2 years?
No, there's plenty of fat people willing to debase themselves on YouTube for money and fame. That's a renewable
Is this
resource.
and this is you stalk the channels watching them?
I catch sometimes I watch them, but I mean, okay. I will say this: like Chantal just laying on the bed, looking at her camera and like mumbling about stupid shit while high, is legitimately better background noise than Ralph. Like Ralph's streams are just insufferable to sit through.
I can't watch them. I have to watch people clip them. They're way
Yeah,
too fucking boring.
I
It's a
don't.
lot of dead air and a lot of just blank stares.
That's why I end up relying on the IP2 people who are insane, because they can sit through like literally days of content to find like the 30 seconds of shit worth watching. And they do that with Ralph. And like so much of his stream is just filling up time waiting for super chats and shit.
Yeah, like he's doing like 10 or 12-hour streams now. I don't, and like I don't know how fucking clippers sit through it. I like the IP2 stuff though. Because they are just a never ending. I'm still waiting for Blade's fucking leg to fall off, which I'm sure eventually is gonna fucking happen.
The last of the IP2 stuff I heard about was Andy Dick butt fucking some dude.
Yeah, he raped a dude. He butt fucked a guy when he was like half drunk and asleep, and then it became a big thing. But he's still around. And then I mean, Andy Dick also was like held hostage by a crazy guy that had a gun. It's like all IP2 shit. And then Blade's out there with his leg rotting off, and you've got Attila, and I can't remember her fucking name, the crazy bitch that got pregnant and had a kid.
Yeah, I know
So
who you're referring to. That's Attila's
yeah,
girlfriend.
yeah, like they've had fight videos where like just screaming, beating the shit out of each other.
Well,
And
CPS took
somehow,
her kid, like right. See, this is my thing: is that these people like Chantal is like incidentally funny, and Ralph is like incidentally funny to like what they're doing. These people are only on stream because they know that their life is a train wreck, and people financially support them to continue to ruin their own life. And it's literally like bum fights. It feels kind of dirty to enable this ecosystem.
well, there was one guy that I don't even know if he's still around. I watched a little bit of it, Tommy or whatever. That was the one that Gucci's made fun of because he was like a mama's boy, so they kept making fun of him saying Tommy's mommy. But like there were like he would like do live streams in the desert where he'd take his broken car and just drive around in the middle of nowhere. I guess hoping it wouldn't like shit out on him. And then he'd get back home and his mother would yell at him for taking the car out. And I kind of wonder like what happened in that dude's life where like he can't do anything without his mother up his ass every second of the day.
Oh, I didn't get a job and move out.
I don't know. Like it just
that's what happened. He didn't get a job and he didn't move out. He's probably not got a dad. He didn't have work ethic and he doesn't click. I can literally just go work at Taco Bell and I can get the fuck out of here. For some people that never clicks, I'll tell you this: if you're like a loser and you're listening to this stream, get a job. When I was 19, I worked.
If you're a fucking loser, get a job. All right.
No, literally, it's good advice. I got a job at Whataburger. It was a shit job. I didn't get paid enough. It was a 45-minute commute each way. But I have some of my best memories is working at fucking Whataburger and hanging out with people there and the stupid shit that happened and all the like interpersonal politics. I went from being like a mute, shy autist that couldn't raise his voice to like running around with like friends and having a girlfriend and screaming like out orders and stuff. It really changes your worldview. If you are like a sad, lonely person and you're angry and bitter, get a fucking job. Especially
I like how you threw like the girlfriend thing in there. So now they're all gonna think that like Whataburger is a pussy palace. Like if I get a job at Whataburger, I'm gonna get laid.
I mean,
clearly that only happens at Denny's. You should send them to the right restaurant.
I mean, I was a teenager. That's where teenagers work. Why not? You know, I guess if you're like 30, don't. It's already too late for you.
Don't try to get a teenage girlfriend at Whataburger. Yeah, that's
if you're like
advice.
If you're like 24, don't try to date like a 16-year-old that's working at Whataburger. It was a bit creepy.
What happened to your job, Bob? Well, I tried to date the teenage fry cook, and they all threw me out of the fucking front door. I don't know why.
Yeah. Anyways, if you're a teenager, it's not too late. You can unfuck your life. If you're over 30 and you have nothing, just don't try to hurt anybody on your way out.
Is your advice find a bridge overpass? Is that what you're telling them?
Not a bridge that's over traffic though, because that'll hold up people going to work.
Don't inconvenience the commuters. Oh, you're so thoughtful.
Like those Japanese people. You know how rude that is? There's a reason why they fine their families for holding up the fucking train. People got to go to work.
God, could you imagine? There's a knock on your door and your fucking kid or your husband or wife or whatever killed themselves, and it's a cop.
It's not even the cop. It's the train authority that beats the cop.
Tab.
The cop's on the elevator coming up. I ran up the stairs. Here's your bill, bitch.
Yeah, that disposal fee plus tip. Yeah, it's going to cost a lot. Oh, speaking of dead people in Japan, so this near thing I've heard people going back and forth on. So your contention is that the Japanese government releases a list, right, of any foreigner that dies in the country. I mean, that's confirmable, isn't it?
Yes. Okay. Real quick, guy, emulator developer, Bu, also known as David Kirk Ginder, I want to say, which is very close to David Kirk Johnson, who many other people also may know. I think that's his name. Anyways, he is in Japan. He's an emulator developer. Has lots of money. Emails me one day and says, "Take down my thread, or I will accept $100,000 cash to do so, or I will kill myself." I tell him no, and then I wake up and there's a huge thing because some guy, Hector Martin, published a suicide note saying I killed myself because of the kiwi farms, and he lived in Japan, and this was published as fact. And NBC News contacted his employer who lived in Hong Kong, and the guy had an urn with his name on it. And so NBC says this is confirmed true. There's no reason that this guy can lie. And he does have an urn, so it's true. And therefore, in the way that the circle of journalism and Wikipedia and shit.
Wait a minute. Didn't this exact same thing happen with CRP? Didn't somebody send an urn with his fucking quote unquote ashes?
No, that was Bue's urn with the coach's name photoshopped on it.
Oh, was it?
You really, yeah. Deep lore. I remember that because that did get circulated as being his urn. Okay, so yeah, urn fake or like true. Everyone accepts it as true. We're talking about it, and people are saying some genius comes out of nowhere and says, I happen to know for a fact that the Department of State publishes a biannual report of all the deaths of American citizens living overseas for each country. So we think, okay, we'll wait 6 months. 6 months comes, and there was a suicide in Japan that month, but it was before the emails, so it wasn't View. And then after, there were no deaths of American citizens in Japan for that entire period. Another 6 months come by, and the narrative then is this is like a clerical error. It didn't get reported. They'll update it next report. Next report comes by, no deaths of any Americans for the entire calendar year after Bew said that he was going to kill himself. And they say, well, that's preposterous. Americans had to have died. There's no way that no Americans died in Japan for that entire period. It's just a paperwork thing. There is no fucking way, and anyone who's ever dealt with the Japanese will know this, there's no fucking way that the super anal, retentive paperwork monsters of Japan would fail to report the death of an American citizen to their counterparts in the Department of State. There's no way that that's going to happen. So as far as I'm concerned, he's not dead. The other thing is that they use an urn as proof that he was dead. And the urn went to his boss, like a coworker that did contracts with him, and not his common law spouse in Pennsylvania. And the other thing is that, if you don't know this, Hong Kong is a big city, and it's also south of a really, really, really big city called Shenzhen. Shenzhen is the one.
Wait, actually a second. Wait. If he has a common law spouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't she have to report as being widowed if he was dead? Is she still reporting as being married?
He was gay married to another non-binary, and I think that they had separated before he died.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't know exactly what the details with that, but it did go to his coworker, and there was some excuse why the other person didn't receive any news about it. But Shenzhen is just north of Hong Kong. It's one of the biggest ports in China. It is a city the size of a warehouse, the size of a city. You can get anything that you want in Shenzhen. Not that urns are particularly hard to get anywhere. They're not like a regulated thing that you need a license to have an urn printed. But now I'm pretty sure that not only could you find like an urn and get it engraved with whatever the fuck you want in Shenzhen, I'm pretty sure you could probably find like real human cremains to put in the urn to make it look super authentic. So there's no fucking way that this guy is dead. He's laughing at me, and he got away with extorting me, basically.
So what is he doing then? Because wouldn't he have to lay low, not to draw any attention to him, and be quote unquote dead?
He said that he had like a lot of money. He had like $100,000+ in savings. He's basically a genius when it comes to low level programming and assembly and shit. Like, he can just rebrand as somebody else. I'm pretty sure he probably already had an ID lined up way before the suicide, so that he could just start using that immediately. And by the way, nobody had any picture of him, and nobody had his name. His thread was just Bew or Near, the developer. We had no idea who he was. And then he published his own picture and his own name. He did not give any government ID to confirm that this was him and his picture, so that could be scrutinized, even though he promised that he would do so in his suicide emails. And then he just disappears. So as far as I know, that picture could be, this person does not exist.com. It could be a fake name. and he's just rebranded as some other shit and is doing something else and laughing at the drama. He could be Keffels. I really don't fucking know who he is.
Do you think this is like a Vordrak Depop? Do you think he's he adopted the identity of a?
Vordrak is not smart enough to backwards engineer the Nintendo 64 CPU. This is definitely a weird guy, weird like avant-garde.
Maybe he's super committed, and you've just not been giving him the credit he deserves.
That's possible. I would be very impressed if that was the case.
I'll teach you, Josh. I'll show you. It's fucking learning shit you never thought.
Yeah.
So if it comes out like a month from now and somebody's like, "Oh, he's alive. This is him," what do you think that's going to do to Keffels and all their bullshit?
Nothing. Because
they'll just ignore it.
They will say that this person was so traumatized by the kiwi farms he faked his own death to get away from it.
Yeah, anything to switch it up, right?
Yep, and it will keep chugging along. That's an acceptable narrative. That's like fuse blown, pull the fuse out, plug a new one in, machine keeps churning.
And didn't they also, wasn't one of the suicides they attributed to you guys, one that was at the hands of the trans community? Wasn't one of them driven crazy and lit herself on fire or something?
So there are four that are attributed to us. There's Bew. There is Chance Carmichael, who also goes by 600 going on 700. He was a person who aspired to be the world's fattest person. He died of obesity-related complications. His family blamed us. Go figure. I don't know how that works.
Were you sending him Oreos? How did that work?
No, I don't think so. In fact, everyone liked Chance because he joined the forum and said, like, I'm a fat dude. I eat whatever the fuck I want, and I'm super happy. And you losers are just sitting here watching me. And everyone thought that was like the best possible thing ever. Everyone liked him from that response. He was completely untrollable. So I don't know how the fuck we got blamed for that. The other one was the one that you're referring to. There was a saga where there was a charity called Trans Lifeline, and Trans Lifeline was basically a scam. It was ran by Nina Chabul and Greta Gustava, who are both trans, and it was supposed to be like a emergency hotline for suicidal people who were trans. And basically, they kept posting about taking trips and going to places and buying all this shit. They were living very luxuriously. So people were tracking this and reporting about how the operators were not trained. I got documents from Trans Lifeline from people in there defecting saying we are not being trained. There's nobody on the calls. This is our training material for helping someone back away from the ledge is a PowerPoint presentation. We have no idea what the fuck we're doing. And this all came together. We put it together. We put it out there. Nobody gave a fuck because it was from the Kiwi Farms. That was brushed aside as transphobic. And all this information about inurement and embezzlement was getting put out there. Nobody cared until the real enemy of the trans community came out. Buck Angel, a female to male transsexual, said, this is fucked up and you guys have to answer these questions. And that literally caused Nina Chabul and Greta Gustava to get kicked out by their own board of directors. And they reported under penalty of perjury, under oath to the IRS, that Greta Gustava and Nina Chabul inured $350,000 of charity money into their own personal accounts and through other expenditures. Yeah, and we were all right. The Kiwi Farms is right. They changed everything up. I think people now actually answer the phones at Trans Lifeline, and it was only because a female to male who was not going to play, ball with their bullshit called them out on it, using that information that happened. However, one person who was a frequent caller who did complain actually about how there was nobody who would answer the lines, and sometimes the operators would just get frustrated because they didn't know what to do and hang up on you if you were saying you were going to kill yourself. And they left a suicide note saying, I don't want to live in the world with Donald Trump as president and Kiwi Farms around. And that was their statement. Greta Gustava tried to push this and say that we were responsible for their deaths. And the widow, who was also trans, said, don't you fucking dare use my spouse's name as a weapon against the Kiwi Farms because you guys are more responsible. And Greta actually ignored that and kept trying to use them for weeks after the fact, to the point where the widow got blocked on the Trans Lifeline Twitter or Facebook page for continually calling them out for it.
But that was the one that didn't they lit themselves on fire?
No, that was Chloe Segal. Chloe Segal had severe problems. They were basically ostracized from the trans community because they did a GoFundMe for like their father's cancer or something, and they got like $35,000, and then they just lied about the whole thing, and they got a sex change operation with it. When this came out, it made a lot of people really angry. They wanted their money back and shit like that, and they basically had no friends. They were basically excommunicated by the trans community, and from what I understand, they brandished a machete at their roommates at some point, and their roommate said, "Why don't you commit yourself for 72 hours voluntarily?" Which Chloe did, and then when Chloe returned to the house, they had changed all the locks on the building, and left their shit outside. So Chloe was homeless for about 2 weeks. They put out more fundraisers asking for help because they were homeless. Nobody gave them anything, like literally $0 fundraisers. Like Chloe was like yelling at people for help, got 0 likes, 0 retweets, and then they set themselves on fire in a park. And the witnesses for the statement said that their last words were about houselessness and mental health care in the U.S. Nothing about the kiwi farms. But Chloe Segal gets brought up to this day as a thing that the forum caused.
So how are any of these really pinnable on you guys then?
It doesn't matter. They're dead. They can't correct the record. They
You,
can't
you
say
have
I.
you have one that's not confirmable, one that's obviously related to just being overweight, right? And
Yeah,
then two that seem to be involved in some kind of embezzlement that led to a situation that brought about their suicides.
yeah. And the other one, and this is more iffy, is Julie Terryberry. Julie Terryberry, who by the way, people in mainstream publications like fucking AP, they say that Julie Terryberry was trans. Julie Terryberry was not trans. Julie Terryberry was a real woman. Julie Terryberry hung herself with a belt, and her story is very sad. She was adopted, I want to say, and she only had good relations with her grandmother. She lived in a shed in Canada with her boyfriend, who was 10 years older than her, and they started dating I think when she was 16, which is like as young as you can be to have sexual consent in Canada, with this guy older than her. And he puts her into porn and shit. He's putting her on Pornhub and like pimping her out as a cam girl to make money. And then because she's in porn and she doesn't have anybody else, when he says that he wants to leave her or threatens to, she says, "If you leave me, I'll kill myself." And one day he left her and she killed herself, and he joined the forum and blamed us for it.
How the fuck does that work?
Because he felt guilty, so he tried to shift the blame on the forum, and it worked because more people are angry at me than him.
Yeah, this isn't this is all pretty weak, man. You'd think that some journalists would be like, I don't know about this.
Jesse Signal, the only one.
Was that the one that did the podcast with a woman? I think I heard this on a Destiny stream where he was listening to it, where he talked about trying to track down the person that went outside of Keffel's apartment.
Yes.
Yeah, I listened to that. He seemed not to buy a lot of the shit either.
Yeah, he's like the most high profile journalist who's countering any of the signal, but it's like I don't know how much it's going to help. It is interesting to see that there is some integrity out there in the journalism sphere. I don't even think Jesse. I don't know much about him. I think he's like left. I think his co-host is trans. Even please don't quote me on that because I don't know.
I have no idea who either of them are. I heard his reporting when he was talking about I'm trying to track all this shit down, and saying that like Keffels has this history of being a shitty person, and a lot of this didn't add up, and it doesn't seem like it's related to kiwi farms at all. And the big thing he brought up is why is Keffels going after kiwi farms about docs when the docs related to Keffels showed up on a secondary site first?
Yeah, I mean the whole thing about how we're swatting them is just wrong, demonstrably wrong. There's no proof. I would not condone it. Nobody would condone it. People like nobody finds that funny. Nobody on the site finds that funny.
Yeah, but again, what about that subsection you have called "Here's how we swat people"? That's only visible to members. How do you explain that, Josh?
It's like nauseating to read the articles where it's like Kiwi Farms, a website synonymous with swatting. We're synonymous with swatting because you keep publishing these fucking articles lying about us. That's why we're synonymous with swatting. It's not because of anything. There's not a single fucking post that any of those motherfuckers can put into their article that back up what they say. They just say it and that becomes the truth as far as like the public is concerned.
So, do you think it's starting to peter out? Like with Keffels is like this figurehead or this mask or whatever. I seem to see that most people find them fucking obnoxious. Do you think it's starting to finally lose steam, or do you think they're still chugging along?
It's number one. It's splintering. It's splintering, and it's I've noticed this firsthand. is that a lot of people are unhappy with the fact that you do have a broad rainbow coalition of people of all walks of life who are trying to take down the site because they find it offensive for various reasons. But who is the person who makes the money? Who is the person who gets the clout? Who's the person who takes credit every time it happens? Keffels. Ironically, you have a coalition of people who are women, female to male, male to female, black, Jewish, all over the board, and it's the fat white Italian dude who's sitting around getting all the fucking money for it. So a lot of people are offended on that regard, is that like you have people who have literally tried to take down the site for years, who have actually accomplished something, while Keffels has done literally nothing besides taking credit for it. And they, I mean, that's like a natural human instinct. You don't want to feel like you've been swindled, that your effort was worth nothing because someone else just stole it from you. So that's a natural fragment in the movement. It's petering out because there's only so much you can do. The site, the actual scenario, the situation that we're in is that the site is not illegal. My companies are in the U.S. My bank accounts are in the U.S. My servers are in the U.S. If the site was illegal, the federal government can march into my data center and take my shit anytime they want. In fact, they've already marched into my data center. So I know that they're around. I know that they're paying attention, and I know that if there was something that they can indict me with, they probably would have already done it. And now they are going down the list, and they're trying to figure out who can I like annoy into taking something down that the site actually needs to stay up. And they're running out of options. The site has found, like, right now on the front end of the Kiwi Farms, there is five or six different servers on 5 or 6 different hosts, and I've put them up, and that's how, if you access the site, you access them through them. So, and it's very easy. If you just type in NS lookup, you get a list of IPs. You put one of those IPs into a whois database, and you will see who owns it, and you can send them an email if you want to. And so far, to my surprise, I bought 6 because I thought that all of them would drop in an hour. I have like a Shinjaru, which is based out of Malaysia. I have Alex Host, which is based out of Moldova. I have Visas, which is based out of Ukraine. I have one in the Netherlands and one out of the U.S. And they've all stayed up so far. And I'm keeping. I know that anything I put on .net will get the most shit. So I haven't put .net live yet. I'm kind of like testing it and fine tuning my setup to make sure it's ready. But I'll be interested to see what happens with that. The main issue is simply the application level filtering. I need to figure out a good way to do DDoS filtering for just like regular attacks on the network. And I need to get my network fortified. So I think once that happens, once I'm more happy with my router setup, then I'll move. Sure. I'll put it back on .net and see what happens with the proxies and stuff.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see which way it goes. I know you've been fucking running all over the place the last 2 weeks dealing with all this shit,
I mean,
and it's been weird to watch. Um, I think it's pretty telling to watch who's come down on each side of this. You know what I mean? Because there's some people before they're like, I love Kiwi Farms, but now they're like, this is great, fuck them, you know. I just don't want to see who could possibly be like that. Well, he's probably rage picking right now as we speak.
Well, I mean, that was way before the Keffels. He's always been like that.
Oh yeah. It's, you know, it's just that there are people like that, you know, that seem to fucking flip on a dime. But to me, it's just I don't I like what else is there, right? Like, how sanitized does the internet have to become? You know, like
They literally want to
you can't watch what you want to watch anymore, or say what you want to say anymore. Like, everything is so fucking squeaky clean now. I used to be able to go on YouTube and fucking you could enter the term nigger fight and you would get 400,000 fucking hits. But I can't do that anymore. So you type fight, you don't get any hits. Try looking up a road rage video, you don't get really any hits. It's all filtered bullshit content. And it's just really depressing. I like the videos, and the fucking outrageous shit's gone. And there's so few sites that provide that in any form or context. Um, and yeah, if you guys go down at 4chan and fucking Ed and 8chan, or well, not 8chan, but Cow and the sister site you were talking about, just all that shit's going to get swept away. and it's going to just be this corporate shit, this Mickey Mouse sanitized internet, where nobody can say what they want. I mean, everybody's something like the Fediverse, or use some kind of alternative that somebody hopefully sets up. I don't fucking know.
They they want it so that there is no place where people can talk about certain issues candidly. That they don't. It's not just how sanitized they want it. They want it so that there is no place, and if there is a place that comes up, it gets pushed back down. Because I think they may not know it in like a direct, coordinated way, but if I'm ever able to dig in, there's an awareness that I will not stop with the kiwi farms. Once I have something set up that works, I'm going to share it. If the people from like Mumsnet need hosting because they get banned in the UK, I will host them. I will find a way to make it work. I'll find a way to accept money from select few people who need special services, and I will create an umbrella for these sites. And they don't want that. They want it so that if you have specific opinions, they can only be shared in like shitty little holes that nobody can find.
Well, even the shitty little holes now are getting fucked with. Like, I think BitChute's a good example, right? BitChute pops up, people are uploading videos of all sorts on it, and then because of where they're hosted or whatever the exact situation they're dealing with, they've got government intervention fucking with them now on what can be up there and what can't be and what has to be taken down and who gets blocked and what country can access it.
Yeah.
So like even the alternatives are getting get fucked.
Well,
Even the shitty little holes get fucked.
Well, BitChute is hosted out of the UK, and that's their first mistake. What happened with them is that they realized when they started getting a lot of Nazi shit, they basically emailed the ADL and said, "What do we do to stay online?" And the ADL wrote them guidelines, and some of their strategy is not too stupid. I've thought about this myself, and it may be easier to have like geographed access to the site, but as a caveat, if I have things like the EU where EU access is limited, if I just keep the onion open, then people, I'll have a screen that says when you join from the .onion, please select your region, and you can just say, I'm from the US, and how would I know? It's just it's Scout's honor. But yeah, BitChute's done a lot of stuff to stop their growth, and it's hard to put a finger on what. I think the main issue that people have was the lack of streaming, and they didn't have a search feature that worked, whereas Odyssey has both. So Odyssey,
yeah, their search feature is kind of fucked, or it was at least for a while there. I mean, I did test out streaming on there, but I don't know who coded it because somebody basically spammed the entire Bible in chat, the whole fucking thing, and just over and over again. So somebody was sending panic messages, Jim, fucking turn your chat off. But well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So that's where it's at right now. That's the whole saga. Is in truth, we haven't lost that much. We lost the .top domain that we weren't using anyways. Icenik from Iceland is for some reason checking my passport with the U.S. Embassy in Reykjavik or whatever the fuck, because they don't believe me. I don't know if they're trying to force me to like dox myself to them with like a new secret name that I have or what. But my shit's all legit. So we lost the .is domain as well, and we lost Cloudflare.
Why don't you fuck with them and send them a fake passport with a Near's picture and just say you're him and see how they react. see if they understand what you've done.
Because I lost my Google Voice number too, right? And I told you this, but I also complained to the FCC about it. I said that my phone number was illegally stolen from me by Google, and the FCC responded and said, we've submitted this to Google and they have to reply as to why they've done this in 30 days. So it's like, I'm going to fight for everything. I'm going to keep my .is domain. I'm going to get my fucking Google Voice number back, and I'm going to meet them on every one of these challenges. I'm going to litigate this in the most Jewish way possible, because everything that I do is completely legit. And if they disagree, they can point to the statute that says otherwise.
And you're gonna fund this fight with those patches.
I'm gonna fund the fight with a complicated network of proof of stake and proof of work cryptocurrencies and also patches.
And the patches. Remember MITI.live?
Yes,
but not right now because Cloudflare is putting up how dangerous you are.
Live like 2 weeks from now. You'll have like a week before they're all sold out.
Well, this has been entertaining. Talking about the Troon saga, the Troon Shine saga,
The
and a
death
little
of the
bit of
internet.
your the death of the internet. It's always a fucking happy, fun topic, isn't it?
Yeah, if you find a way to laugh about it, it's still funny. It is. How did, there was this great interconnected network of every computer in the entire world, and everyone, even people in Russia and China, Malaysia and Rwanda and Brazil, they could all get together and play Dota 2 and scream obscenities and racial slurs at each other, and it was a great fun time had by all. How did it die, Dad? Well, one day a bunch of mutilated dick snippers got together and got really offended that nobody would call them a she, so they petitioned to all the different agencies in the world in mass until they revoked services and the internet fractured down the middle.
And now it's gone forever.
Now it's gone forever. Now we communicate by shortwave radio again.
Yep, and we have to buy porn at the gas station in magazine form. It's really a fucking dark time, son. It's
Yes,
really a dark time.
the trannies took over the post office, and now when you import your hentai from Japan, you have to pay like a 200% tax that goes directly to the HRT fund from social
Yep,
services.
they renamed it the post op
Oh
office.
no!
Yeah, yeah. You need a proof of packaging received. You have to show them your genitals. It's really an embarrassing fucking situation, son.
Okay, in the name of grifting, I have super chats. It is now 1 a.m. I have to bash through them. Do you want to stick around?
No, I'll jump while you do your grifting.
Mhm.
So you can get to your chats. Besides, I got to go eat dinner. I forgot the time zone difference, so I thought, oh, 3 in the afternoon would be great. Well, I forgot you're halfway around the world. Um, when you grift, don't forget to show your patches. I'm telling you, hat funding is amazing, and patch funding is probably amazing too.
Do the
So
hats actually do that well? Are you being serious?
hats have done fantastic. I mean, they're made by little Chinese girls in some factory halfway across the world. So I can't really speak to the best of quality, but I'm not making them. I'm just selling them. But no, the hats. People like the hats. I don't. Hats do well. Mugs do well. Maybe you
Yeah.
could make a Troonshine mug and sell it to people. I'm sure people would love that.
See, my issue is not like selling them. It's like I have to do the logistics. I can't have a storefront. I have to do
Yeah,
everything myself.
yeah, you're stuck with that like drop shipping, retail arbitrage shit. So
Yeah,
it's a
3PL.
fucking
Yeah, it's a
clusterfuck
mess.
headache. Yeah. All right, man. Well, take it easy. Thanks for having me on as a guest. Fuck Keffels. Fuck Ethan Ralph. Fuck Nick Bate. Why not? He's in prison. He'll never hear it, but fuck him anyway. Fuck Amos Yee. And I'm probably gonna go watch a fat girl get beaten by an Egyptian now. Chantel, how do you
Chantel,
spell it?
Chantal. And Nadir's name is spelled Nadir. And I think if you just go to YouTube and like type, here's what you want to do if you want to see the beating footage. Just type in Nadir Didi, Didi hits Didi. I think you should find some videos where he does the bitch I don't scare, bitch I don't scare.
I just want the audio clip. I want to hear the voice. Sounds so much like "How Can You Slap?" So yeah, that's what I'm gonna go check out. I'm gonna watch an Egyptian guy beat an obese woman. Oh, I love the internet. As long as it lasts. See, that's the fun kind of stuff you can go check out. But take it easy. I hope everything works out for you. And yeah, I'm gonna go watch some fatties get hit.
Yep, good talking to you.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. All right, all of you who are just here for Jim. That is the end. Thank you, Jim, for joining me. Thank you all for joining me. I'm now going to honor my blood tithe to the merchants who have tipped during the stream. I apologize if any of them are directed to Jim. He did not want to stick around for him. So, yeah, you'll just have to deal with me instead.